We just watched the trailer for How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Maybe this will be the movie where we finally learn how to train your dragon.
That's right, baby. It's time for movie trailer trash. Enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Movie Trailer Trash. I'm Bethany.
I'm Charlie.
And as Charlie mentioned, we just saw the trailer for the third installment of the How to Train Your Dragon series.
You know what's weird?
What?
Is that this one's called How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World.
Yeah.
The first one is called How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
The second one is called How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Oh, seriously? It doesn't have a name?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they shouldn't. You got to stick with one or the other. Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3, right?
Yeah.
But then you have
Toy Story 4 at some point.
Finding Nemo, Finding Dory. You know, you got to stick with some sort of theme.
Yeah. They should have been
Guardians of the Galaxy
one,
Volume 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
The second one should have been called You Have Trained Your Dragon. And the third one should
Once
be called
You've Trained Your Dragon.
Once You've Trained Your
It's
Dragon.
how the second one, the third
Yeah.
one would be How the Dragon Trains You.
Oh, yes. How to Mate Your Dragon. That might be a good one, considering that this movie is heavily promoted via there's some mysterious lady dragon for Toothless to be involved with.
Well, let me start by saying something that came to mind. For those of you who've seen the first two, you know Toothless is the dragon. Hiccup is the main character.
Yep.
He is a boy in the first one who just doesn't fit in and isn't like the rest of the Vikings, right? And his dad is the
He's
chief.
a little nerd boy.
And then in the second one, he's 20 years old is what I just read in something
okay.
I was reading. So he's 20 years old. He's a man now, and his father wants him to take over. And unfortunately, spoiler alert, his father dies in that one, and he has to take over.
So he becomes the new chief of the village, which I don't think that where they are supposed to be
has chiefs.
I
don't feel like that's the word for a Viking leader. I think it would be king, right? Viking king?
I don't know, but they do things very
well,
differently.
Anyway,
Viking.
This is a fictional world, so that's
boss.
fine. But what I was going to say,
manager.
The observation I made. So in this one, they show him as an adult, looking back on his life, and he said, "There was a time, or once upon a time." No, that's not what he said.
No, he said there used to be dragons when I was a boy.
When I was a boy, that's what he said. It was like that old man telling a story.
$100 says that Toothless dies at the end of this movie, and he's telling his kids about him.
Sure, perhaps, but all the dragons are gone.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, but okay, the observation I made is I like how in the first two movies, Hiccup is basically Jim from The Office, and then Jim from The Office towards the end of The Office, and now he's John Krasinski in A Quiet Place.
Okay, because he has the beard?
Yeah, he's just like a kind of goofy looking, like cute white guy.
Yeah, he's supposed to be
like generic
a little,
cute white guy.
A little nerd, a caring, kind nerd boy.
He has a very Jim look.
That became the leader because of his caring and kindness, which everyone thought of as a weakness.
And then they found out it wasn't. But I'm just saying it's funny because I saw him with the beard. I was like, oh, there you go, John Krasinski, A Quiet Place. And John Krasinski, for those of you who don't know, is Jim.
However, they only show him with a beard once. I think
which is odd.
Most of the movie. So I think that
most
takes
of the movie
place
is going to be him telling the story
later on. I think they're going to jump around.
I think they'll show him with the beard at the beginning telling the story, and then it'll go back and we will see the story take place. Then at some point, it'll come back to the future, and whatever story he's telling his kids or whoever is going to somehow intercede with his real life now.
And so let me give you a quick rundown just of what's happening in this from the beginning to the end of the trailer. Is he's telling him a story, and so that's going to have that whole motif to it. What happens is
he's always telling a story.
They find another Night Fury that is white and a lady, and it can do sort of magical thing. I think they call it a Light Fury.
Oh, you're right. My bad.
But by the way, I realized that all of the males of that race of dragon are probably called Guy Furies.
Okay.
Flavor Town.
Anyway, go on. Tell the story.
So they discover a secret dragon world somewhere when they're out looking for Night Fury because he ran off. And it's it's like where the dragons lay all their eggs, and it's neon, and it's cool. They come back to find that there is some, generic evil guy who wants to hunt his dragon because that's...
Yeah, I was going to say the villains in this, it's like a weird thing where they have to create villains who just like hate dragons, which I guess that's not too crazy. They used to hate dragons, right?
Everyone hates dragons.
But now that they've tamed them, if somebody has a pet and you're like, I'm going to kill your pet, and they're just like, no, don't, dude. And they're like, then I'm going to kill everybody you love.
Yeah.
That's what the guy says, basically. Like, then everything you love is in danger if you won't let me kill your pet.
And so they have to run away is what they're going to do. They're not going to fight, which I thought was strange. But maybe there's some extenuating circumstance. We don't know what's going on.
Let's all leave our home. That
and
seems
so
like the
there's a
best
big
solution.
gap in the trailer between...
Definitely.
Where they focus on like kind of the cute little dragon relationship that's going to happen instead of the conflict of the story, which is probably going to be a lot more interesting.
Definitely. But I think so. When I first saw this trailer, I talked to my friend at work about it because I knew he liked these movies, and he said that the trailer looked disappointing, and I agreed with him. But we just today watched the very end of the second movie because it happened to be on TV. And then we just watched the trailer again, and I was thinking, the reason it doesn't look that interesting is because, like you said, it doesn't tell you anything about the movie. All you know is that dragons are gone now.
I think
I think it's great.
They're using the trailer to get kids to ask their parents to go see it.
Well, yeah, because when you think about it, in the last movie, somebody died, and it's over. They're dead. Like, they didn't come back. It wasn't like a magic, the Beauty and the Beast where he's dead, but she loves him, so it brings him back. It wasn't like that.
They had a Viking funeral for him.
And it wasn't even like, Lion King where he dies early in the movie, and then the rest of the movie is you kind of going through the coping process with Simba. It was like, end of the movie, you barely have time to process it.
Well, here's the thing about this movie.
It's tough for
these
kids.
movies that I really like is that they have legitimate... consequences to anything that's happening. So in the first one, he legitimately loses his leg.
Yeah.
And
and the rest of the time
he starts the movie with 2 legs and he ends it with 1 leg, and he has to get used to doing it and whatever. And it was kind of like a thing that made them more like each other. So, because he's missing the fin and whatever, and
way for him to relate.
Whatever.
In a way, I just realized he's kind of a what do you call the dogs that help people? Security dog. What do you call that?
Service dog?
Service. He's like a service dog. Like, they both relate and they help each other with their disabilities.
And in the second one, obviously his dad dies.
Yeah. And so what will happen in this one?
And so I think in this one that Night Fury will die. And I also think that one of 2 things is happening with his mom. Because,
where the heck is his mom?
Right, she's not even in it. She either is going to die or she's going to be part of the conflict that's happening. Like, she knows this guy from when she was out wandering the world before.
Well, yeah, because, it said that for 20 years his mom just went around saving dragons. So it would be very likely that she would know this guy if she saved a bunch of dragons from him. That's one thing, though. It's called the Hidden World, and they're like, it's like a secret hidden dragon world. But I'm like, didn't they find that in the last one when they found his mom?
No, that was the big cave.
Yeah, that's
was
like
the
a
dragon
secret
cave.
dragon world.
This one is like literally...
I'm just saying it kind of seems like we already
you open a portal or whatever. And by the way, so the Light Fury, the white Toothless, white lady Toothless, has some sort of either teleportation ability or something else, because she shoots out a little thing in front of her and then she flies into it and then she disappears.
It's really cool.
It either makes her invisible or she teleports, or something that I think might be
Charlie's theory, his big theory
possible, is that she can time travel short amounts of time, I guess.
Which is kind of what teleporting is. We talked about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, but not that short amount of time. But there's a part in it where where Hiccup is hanging on to her and he says, "Save him."
Yeah.
And she shoots a thing and flies into it. I think that Toothless died
and she's
earlier,
going back for him.
And he's trying to get her to go back in time and save him.
That
would be very confusing and open up a whole lot of stuff.
Well, here's the thing. It's very likely. It's an interesting it's an interesting series, and I feel like they're always, I don't know, it's unique. All the stories are unique. So like you said, there's real consequences, but also in the last one, there was a dragon that could control other dragons' minds.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like kind
what
of
was his
magic
name? I
going
had
on.
just hilarious. And it was
Bewilderbeast?
Yeah, the Bewilderbeast. So I'm like, they're willing to do that kind of a weird thing. So why not do it again? Show us another cool power, you know? So I guess the thing is, I trust these people. So even though it didn't look as exciting to me, I trust them. And you brought up the point that the second trailer didn't look that exciting either. But the second movie was awesome. I would say probably better than the first.
They showed all of the... Well, they showed the thing with the... Where they did that race.
The strange woman with the mask.
With the sheep, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the woman with the mask and stuff like that.
You didn't know it was a woman back then, but... Yeah,
right.
I mean, the thing is... I think the reason that they're focusing on the cutesy stuff, like you said, is to get the kids to go see it. And kids do like these movies, for sure. But I think that if they focus too much on the story, the kids are like, that's not going to get them to the theaters.
Well, here's the thing about these. Well, not the thing, but just here's some information.
Here's the thing.
The first one came out in 2010.
Okay. Not that long
The
ago.
next one came out 2014. So
Yeah.
that's 4 years later. And then this one's coming out next year in March.
Yeah.
And so that's 5 years later.
Good
and
chunk.
so it's
Good chunk
cool
of
how
time.
they, space those out, I think.
Yeah, and yet it didn't feel like a long time. But I mean, 4 years, 5 years is not as long of a time when we're just now getting The Incredibles 12 years later. And we just got Finding Dory like 10 years after.
But they're doing that on purpose. It's not like they've been working on them for 4 years. Or for 14 years or whatever.
No,
you know
but
what I mean?
what I'm saying
Someone
is,
came up to Brad Bird a year ago and said, "Hey, we're going to make another Incredibles movie because we think we could cash in." And then
cash in.
and then
They could have
did it.
cashed in already, though.
But that's what I mean.
They
It's
weren't
like,
purposefully
on
waiting
these
that
ones,
amount of time.
I think they made the first one. It went really well. And then a year after, they're just like,
started
"Do you
working
want to
on
do
it."
another
Yeah.
one?" And he said yes. And they took
the time they
multiple years to
but
make
what,
it.
That's what I'm saying, though, is I'm just saying that it doesn't feel like that long, even though they did take lots of years in between. It doesn't feel like that long because 4 years or 5 years is a reasonable amount of time to make an animated film, I feel. Because especially like a good one, because you want the story to be good.
Mhm.
You don't, especially for movies like this, there are plenty of crappy kids movies out there, and they made it clear from the beginning that this was not going to be one of those. This is going to be a real good story. So you want to get the story just right, and animation takes a long time, to get it good.
Get it good.
Get it good. So I'm just saying, I think it's interesting. I like how they spaced it out. I think it's going to be good. I hope it is the last one, because I feel like, there's only so far you can take a story.
Well, the guy that wrote and directed this also wrote and directed Lilo and Stitch and was a story co-head on Mulan. And so that's kind of interesting. First of all, that he used to work for Disney is just interesting in
Wow.
itself.
How has he not been the most famous, awesomest guy ever?
Wow. And also,
Mulan.
Lilo and Stitch and Mulan.
Both of those are
And
good
no,
movies. But
Lilo
Mulan.
and Stitch and the first How to Train Your Dragon. I think I saw that it said we're both nominated for
Some sort
Oscars
award.
of some kind.
I believe it. They're both great. They're
Yeah.
good. And Lilo and Stitch, that's like one of those movies where it's like a lot more serious than a lot of kids' movies. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
There's some heavy stuff
Like-
going on in the background of all of the, him doing an Elvis impersonation.
well, yeah, like the thing is, we can't like pretend that Disney doesn't approach serious topics. They absolutely do. They do some really heavy stuff, like with The Lion King, obviously Mulan, Pocahontas. They deal with a lot of stuff. But I would say that Lilo and Stitch deals with a lot heavier of a topic. Because yes, a parent can die in a movie and that's sad. But Lilo and Stitch is just like, it's too realistic, because in a lot of these movies, they're grown-up princesses or teenage princesses that look grown-up who, like, when they were babies, their mom died.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, it's like, yeah, I don't have a mother. But it's, like, all in the past. And then with Lion King, he's a lion. So, I mean, you can detach yourself
well,
a
yeah,
little
the
bit.
main conflict of
But
Lilo
in
and
Lilo
Stitch
and
is
Stitch,
that
she
she's going to be
has-
taken away from her sister.
Yeah, she lost her parents recently, and her big sister's taking care of her and has to prove to them that they can make it on their own or they'll be separated. Which, by the way, very ironic right now that we're talking about this, because all the family separation going on at our border.
Yeah, everyone.
Sad.
Yeah. Sad.
But see how sad it was. Like, just think about Lilo and Not Stitch. What's her mom? Or what's her mom? What's her sister's name?
I have no idea.
I feel like I know
I
it.
do know that the security guard is played by Ving Rhames, or the whatever agent.
And his name is something Bubbles, and I still don't remember, so I'll never win that question.
No one knows what we're talking about.
Dragon Bubbles? No. It's Scorpion Bubbles.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway, we're getting off topic. The point is, it's so sad because, Lilo has like a real heavy life problem she's dealing with. So she's a little girl who has no parents and is facing like losing her sister too. So this guy who writes these stories, he's not afraid to hit on some really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
He's great.
He is really
and
good. He's
I think
unique
that's
also.
Smart for kids movies because like I've read about this before, some articles about just if you want to write children's books, to remember that kids can handle more than you think. Because kids, like a lot of children, love the story of Charlotte's Web and it's really sad. But a lot of people who try to get into children book writing, which like I've tried to get into, they want to make happy little stories because they're afraid that, I can't make it sad. Kid won't like that. And no, kids are people. They're little people.
The series of unfortunate events is like one of the most popular books for children ever. And so is Harry Potter. And both of those are, terrible, horrible things happen. And also they're really long. They're like full on books.
And when I was a kid, I read the Dear America books and just sobbed. They were so sad. But I guess the point is
sad, but
the same reason that adults like to read things that make them sad, kids like to read things that make them sad because it's an important part of our emotions and our being. Sadness, there's like a certain beauty in sorrow, and it's a human experience that we want to have. And kids are real people, so just because they're little doesn't mean they don't also want to, experience those emotions.
Soylent Green is people.
All right.
But this guy, another good thing about this guy that's doing this is that he doesn't have a whole bunch of stuff in between all of these movies also. I mean, he basically has the first How to Train Your Dragon, the second one, the third one, and that's all he did for those 10 years, basically. And that's interesting to me because usually when someone is as successful as he is, with those movies, they get offered a bunch of things and they do them because you don't know how long it's going to last. But it makes me think that, like I said before, they spent that amount of time in between each one of these working on them.
I think so too. And so, I think it's good that we don't know a lot about this movie. I think it's fun to have the mystery. And, I did not know going into the last movie what it was going to be like, really. I didn't know very much at all, and I loved it. And then you get to experience the journey. And it's like I was talking about recently with you, Charlie, how kids' movies, as much as I love kids' movies and I love animated movies, I'm starting to realize that I'm finally getting to that point where they're not as fun as they used to be. Like I always thought that it doesn't matter how old I get, I'll always love them. I'm never going to lose that like childlike sense of wonder. But the problem is
that you do.
No, it's not that simple.
I think it is.
So many kids' stories are predictable. And it's not because they're poorly written. It's just because
they're for all those dumb kids.
No, it's just because by the time...
Watch a movie, kids.
Stop it.
Lion King is just Hamlet, kids.
Stop it. Okay. What I'm saying is by the time you're almost 30, like myself, you have watched so many movies, read so many stories, and it's hard to write something that will fool you. That's not predictable. And that's why we're always amazed when there's a movie that tricks us. When there's a twist, people are like, whoa, because they're surprised they didn't see it coming. You just get that experience over time and you start to predict things. I feel like these movies did not do that.
I just want to clarify that I think that Lion King is way better than Hamlet in any iteration.
Oh, wow. I mean, I have never read Hamlet and I don't feel bad about that. I don't care about it. And I agree with you.
Nice. All right. Well, with that, let's move on to where, when, and how you're going to see this movie.
Where? When? How?
Are you going to see this movie? Where, when, how you going to see this movie? Another one for you. Another jingle.
Dude, there's a reason we have preset jingles.
Why?
So that you don't have to just come up with one on the spot every time.
It was pretty good for on the spot, though.
Anyway,
right?
how, where, and when, Charlie?
I'm going to see it in a movie theater at night.
Pew pew pew.
I don't want little kids
Pew pew.
messing with my, you know,
So you want to see it like 9 p.m. or
emotions.
later, is what you're saying. With your emotions. What are they going to do? Like you
I don't know.
you
Be
turn
loud.
around and point at you and be like, ha, he's crying.
No, be, you know,
During a serious moment, all of a sudden they're being loud.
being like, who's that? What are they doing?
Ugh.
Because it's just like every little kid is
They're
going to
gonna
go
do
see
that.
this movie, and obviously it's a 10-year ordeal, and so not all of them, you know, have seen.
Yeah, you're going to have like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds who haven't seen the other two. They're going to be like,
Yeah.
why is the dragon dancing? Well, that's just something.
What is that black lizard doing?
Yeah, exactly. That giant black lizard.
Which, yeah, but
Okay, so you
there's
want to
that.
see it in the theater at night. I feel you, and I agree.
Because there's a lot of movies that I don't feel that way about.
Sure.
Like that are kids movies that
But
I'm
this
just
one,
like
yeah,
okay
you gotta take
with.
it a little more seriously. I
Yeah.
agree. I think it's gonna be good. I said it looked bad, but I have since thought it over. I think it's gonna be good, and I want to see it in theater. And honestly, I have to tell you, I don't think I've seen any of them in theater. I know I didn't see the second one in theater, did I?
I mean, I know that.
I like how I said I know.
I
and
know
then
that
asked.
I didn't see the first one in the theater. Sorry. Oh.
Uh-oh.
First one in the theater, but I may have seen the second one in the theater.
I don't think we did. And the reason I asked you is because there are very few movies in the last 4 years since we got married that I have seen without you.
How did we not see this one? We saw Madagascar 2 in theaters.
No. 3.
3. Madagascar 3.
I've never seen Madagascar 2, but we saw Madagascar 3 with the penguins.
Oh my goodness, with that terrible
That's
Katy Perry
because,
song.
you know, there's not always a lot to do when you're living in Columbia, Missouri. But anyway, the point is, I think this will be the first one I've seen in theaters, which makes me sad because they all deserve it.
Maybe they'll do a thing where they show them all in a row. And we can go and watch all of them in a row beforehand.
That seems a little intense. I'm not opposed to it, but it seems a little intense.
It sounds like you're opposed to it.
I like watching movies, the prequels or the movies that come before the sequel. So
These movies,
so
I
wouldn't be
think.
opposed to that.
Actually, you know what? Let me say this in our next segment of Rotten Tomatoes percentages.
Okay, let's do it.
Rotten Tomatoes percentages. All right, Rotten Tomatoes. Thought continuation a year ago. The thing that I think about these movies and, you know, not Pixar movies in general is that they get a bad rap. Like, I feel
So
like
any non-Pixar animated movie.
yeah, animation that isn't hand-drawn animation. So, like, basically Pixar
style.
invented this style, and then other things took it.
Sure.
But I think that these 3 movies, I would watch over a lot of Pixar movies.
I would like you to name those Pixar movies.
Well, all the Cars movies,
Sure.
the dinosaur one,
Absolutely.
let's see, what are some other ones?
A Bug's Life?
No, I like A Bug's Life.
I like it too, but I mean, when you go back and watch it now, the story is
Yeah,
pretty
maybe.
simplistic.
Actually,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's pretty simplistic.
Maybe.
It's not as good as you would think.
What
when
are
you
some
go
other
back.
ones?
Well, I don't know, because Finding Nemo is the best one. Finding Dory, I would never choose that over Finding Dory. There's obviously all the Toy Stories. Those are great.
Mm-hmm.
And The Incredibles.
And is that it?
I feel like we're missing one.
We're probably missing a few. But, I mean, if that's it, then How to Train Your Dragon is almost right in the middle there.
It's a great movie. You're right. And I do think that sometimes...
And also,
Is this DreamWorks?
I think that if this third one is as good as the second one and the first one, because I think the second one's better, that it is maybe right after Toy Story, one of the best, like...
Animated series.
Yeah, series of movies.
So, okay, but is this DreamWorks?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, DreamWorks especially because they're the other big one. Like there are other, like Despicable Me wasn't DreamWorks or Disney or Pixar. But just in general, it's DreamWorks versus Pixar and Disney. You know, like the DreamWorks is the other big name in animated movies. and they get a really bad rap. But they've had some good ones. But these are by far probably the best DreamWorks ones, except for maybe Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3.
Well, Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3 are good.
Those are great too.
The first Shrek is great.
Obviously.
You know?
And I'm sure the second two aren't terrible.
They're pretty bad.
I mean, if you have some laughs, then I'm good with it. Let's go to the scoring.
Oh, right. Yeah, the scoring. The Rotten Tomatoes percentages, I think that this one will get close to 85% from critiques.
That's good. I'm going to go even higher.
What?
I'll give it an 88%.
88%.
Yeah, I hope it's really good. I kind of wish I would have looked up the scores of the other two, because that would help me a lot.
We can do that.
I mean, you could do that now just out of curiosity.
Go to the phones!
Okay, you're going to hurt everybody's ears.
My ears!
Most people listen to this in their headphones.
What kind of headphones?
I've done a study.
You did?
What
were the results of that study?
I've had a small focus group. Myself, when I re-listen to our podcast.
Okay.
You.
No, I don't.
You just listen to it on some speaker out loud?
In the car.
Weird. Anyway, I'm just joking, but don't hurt people's ears.
I will always.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think that this is going to be great, because this guy is the type of guy who I think is going to choose to very carefully wrap up his story. So the first one, was that the first one?
The first one got a 98%. The second one got a 91%.
So now I'm really doubting myself. I'm doubting myself, because I think this one's going to be really good. I was going to go 89, but then I said 88 because I get scared.
See, I feel like the weird...
I mean,
if
usually
they focus
it does
too
go
much
downward.
on the, dragon relationship or whatever, I think it'll be not nearly as good.
I don't think it's going to be
But if the
that.
focus is more on everything else, then with that thrown in
feel
on
like-
the side, then I think it would be
I feel
good.
like they've always had the fun little things just be little things.
Mm-hmm.
The story has always been pretty intense. It's like
That's what I'm saying.
It's like the difference between when you read a kid's book and there's like big pictures and a few words on each page, or when you read like a Dr. Seuss book where there's like an entire page of words. You know what I mean?
I hope that the
Dr. Seuss still has fun pictures.
I hope that the idea in the
But it has a
writer's
better
room
story.
was not the idea for the movie was like, what if Toothless meets a lady dragon? Instead, that the idea was whatever the thing is that's happening.
Whatever the problem
and then
is.
along the line, they're just like, oh, what if he meets a girl version? And they thought they were all dead, but she helps out and whatever.
I don't know if they think they're all dead at that point.
Yeah, they say
I
that
see what you're saying.
multiple times.
They thought that all of his kind
Yeah.
were. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably what it is. Whatever this big mystery is, whatever the big problem is, like they're going to try and hunt down Toothless. Toothless is his best friend. We know this. He's clearly very important to him. He's going to do everything he can to save him, but that will mean saying goodbye to all the dragons.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'm excited, and especially now that I know this guy helped write Lilo and Stitch and Mulan, I'm like, he's not going to fail me. I trust him.
And he trusts children.
Yeah, he thinks they're smart. And so do I.
Way to go, dude.
So I'm excited about this. I think it'll be fun, and I think if you have kids, or if you don't, go see it in theater is my recommendation, because we should always reward great writing, because writers work hard, and lots of crappy, poorly written things get, lots and lots of money in theaters. So let's instead support a great writer.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, so we'll wrap things up here. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, you can check us out on Twitter at MTT Podcast. You could also find us on Facebook, Movie Trailer Trash Podcast, or you could just check out our website, mttpodcast.com. We're going on vacation,
Yeah.
so we'll be on a beach sometime
Island
soon.
living baby.
So it might be a little extra week before you hear from us again.
Yes.
But thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you guys. We will probably have a fun announcement when we come back.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, if we get things nailed down like we're trying to do. And recently, the writer of the Searching movie tweeted us. That was exciting for us.
That is, yeah.
So, lots of fun things happening on Twitter. Don't miss out.
Join the conversation on Twitter.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of the
know,
conversation. Share your opinions and your thoughts.
As
and your
always.
feelings. Hey, should I do...
What are you doing?
Should I do
Stop
an episode
this.
with this voice?
No.
Maybe do a character of some kind?
Stop for a second. Okay. For real, though, guys.
How to Train Your Dragon, the hidden world.
Friends, thank you for listening. Please tell your friends about us and rate and review. It helps us out a ton.
Did you say friends?
Yeah.
Friends.
Yes. Listeners, friends, listeners, you guys. Yeah, rate and review us on iTunes. It helps us out a ton. Tell your friends about us and check out our buddies podcast, Entertainment Buffet, and entertainbuffet.com.
I don't think that's right. It's at Entertain Buffet on Twitter.
Dang it.
So go there.
That's why I
Google
looked at you.
Entertainment Buffet and subscribe to their YouTube
They're
channel.
there.
They're a blast.
We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good summer, everybody.
Bye. Learn how to train your dragon, or else they'll turn on you
And eat you.